Hi guys, I'm Tom. I'm the other third of Level 2 Gaming. I've been playing video games since I was a wee boy, and I've been playing with Keegan for, what is it, coming up to a year now, something like that? But,
9 months.
yeah, it's been a long time. So yeah, that's me. We're in my basement when we record these shows. I typically enjoy RPGs. Some of the action type games that I enjoy are like Devil May Cry, that sort of thing, God of War, and then some FPS.
Make that big boss that special. It ain't no game, but they saying welcome to the second level. Second level. Second level gaming. Second level.
So, I really got started in gaming back with the Commodore 64, and I know I'm showing my age, but I had bought a Commodore 64 that was a Terminator 2 Judgment Day edition. It had that on the box, like you'd have a big picture of Arnie. And my parents got it for me, mostly just because I loved Terminator 2 at the time. I was a big movie geek as a kid. And it was the first time I'd really ever played anything like that or done anything like that. So we fired up the game, and of course I was instantly into it because I really liked the idea of playing in the movie, but then also I'd never really had that complex of an experience before in terms of a game. I mean, most of the games before that were just playing with sticks and mud and that kind of crap. So, so I got the Commodore 64 and I played Terminator 2, and that was the spark of my love for gaming. And then it wasn't until later that I got into more traditional consoles. So at the time in England there was the Master System, which was been out for a little while at that point. And then what had just come out at the time was a Mega Drive, which is, you guys will probably know, most of you anyway, as the Sega Genesis. And I'd asked my mom for my birthday, which is Christmas Day, for a Master System, because I was like, there's no way they can afford to buy me a Master System, sorry, a Mega Drive, because it's too expensive, and I didn't want to put that burden off them. So I figured there's no way they're going to be able to afford a Mega Drive. I'm just going to ask for the Master System. Hopefully that's what they get me. And I was super stoked to play Alex Kidd and those games back then. Come Christmas Day, I opened it up, and instead of a Master System, there was a Mega Drive in there. It had that triple pack that had Sonic, FIFA Italia. Well, it wasn't FIFA. It was Italia '94. Which was this sort of isometric football game, super low key, but it was fun. And Columns, which was one of my favorite sort of choose three puzzle games that's ever been made. I remember playing Columns one day for a really long time. Like, I'd been sat down playing this game forever, and I'd reached some ridiculous level like 192 or something like that. And I actually paused the game and grabbed the phone, the landline at the time, and called my mom. And I was like, hey mom, I got to level 192 in Columns. I'm going to leave it here so you can see it when you get home. And so I paused it and then just went about my day, and I didn't touch the computer for the rest of the day just because I wanted to show my mom how far I'd gotten in that game. So yeah, that's exactly how obsessive I get when it comes to that sort of thing, especially video games. But that's how I got my start. My top 5 video games of all time. Number 1 is a game that's super near and dear to my heart, which is Final Fantasy X. Final Fantasy X is more than a game to me, and I'm gonna sort of maybe let you guys in on a bigger story surrounding Final Fantasy X at some point soon. But for me, that game was the first time that I'd played a Final Fantasy game where they spoke. And I'd played some earlier ones like Final Fantasy VIII, VII. I never played 9, weirdly. I know Jordan loves it. But I'd never really played one of those games where it wasn't just, the occasional bit of block text coming up, and that kind of thing was a barrier to me because I knew it was a Japanese game, so it's already weird, right? And, when they have this weird kind of dialogue and everything, you can't really hear any voices. It just sort of left me a little cold compared to some of the more, I guess, at the time, AAA titles that were out. So when Final Fantasy X came out, and they actually went through and got English voice casters, and they put this, like, big show on where it was essentially like watching a movie. And then, combined with that, the fact that this game that was the same price as every other game I'd ever paid for was like 100 hours. It just went on forever. And I loved it. I loved the story. There was a lot of romance in it, and I was a sucker for that at the time. And yeah, that's my number 1 game. I absolutely adore that game. Number 2 is, it's another weird Japanese game. It is Okami, which is basically a tale about I guess some kind of a weird fox god thing, this like little wolf god. It's done with this beautiful color palette, which was unlike anything you'd ever seen at the time. It's, I guess, watercolor, and essentially it's an RPG, much like Final Fantasy, but it's a little bit more action based. It's more similar to Kingdom Hearts, where you're kind of controlling the main character across platforms and things like that, and less confusing. But there was sort of, you know, twee little elements of it that reminded me of old school Japanese games like Goma and the Mystical Ninja and things like that, where they'd have little mini games where you'd shrink in size and that sort of thing. But I just remember it being kind of adorable and gorgeous to look at, but then they had this kind of painting dynamic as well that was in there, and it was really fun. I actually got it again later on the Wii, and you could use the control to brush stroke, and it was sort of a different experience, but still a lot of fun. But I absolutely adore that game. Number 3 is a really, really old game. I put it on here just because I still think about it to this day, and I know they've remade it recently. It's called Flashback. And Flashback was, when I played it, I think it was on the Mega Drive Genesis, and it's essentially this weird sort of sci-fi dystopian tale where you wake up in the middle of the jungle, and it's similar to kind of Pitfall in the sense of how it moves. Like, you have all the different platforms on the screen, but it's a sort of screen-by-screen basis, so you just work the screen that you're in, and then once you go outside of that, you're in a whole different area, and you have to very quickly adjust to the area and be like, okay, where can I go, where can I go, is there something about to charge me? I think it was based off of Another World, I think was the name of the game at the time. My memory's fuzzy around that time period. But Flashback, I just remember, sucked me in from an early age as being a game that wasn't really popular. Like, it wasn't the same as like a Sonic the Hedgehog or something that everyone knew and everyone had played, but if you dug into it and gave it a chance, it was a little harder than normal, but giant payoff. And the way that they did the photo-res like images on that game as well was pretty phenomenal for the time. I thought it looked gorgeous. So yeah, that was number 3, Flashback. Top 5 game number 4 would be Metal Gear Solid 3. There's been a fair few of them at this point. The first one is a lot of people's favorites because of things like Psycho Mantis and things like the Sniper Wolf and those kind of memorable boss battles. And the second one was known for different reasons. Not a lot of people jived with it straight away because they kind of tricked you into thinking you were playing Raiden for most of the game, and you did end up playing Raiden for a lot of it. But the third one was where they really went to town. So the third one was they employed all of these kind of new gimmicks to the game, but they were actually really interesting. The camouflage gimmick was amazing. Like, you would be going through a certain patch or a certain area, and you'd have to try and wear clothing that matched more specifically with the area that you were in, and therefore you would be stealthier based on how good your clothing was. So it was just kind of this extra dynamic to the already like super stealth game in Metal Gear. But then they also put in some weird stuff with health as well. Like, if you got damage, you'd have to actually splint up your arm or your leg or whatever. And, you know, you'd see the whole thing. It was kind of interesting. And then, of course, the boss battles in the third one, I think, were superior to the first one. When you're talking about bosses like the End, the Sniper, that would literally just start popping at you from the top of a hill, and you had several ways to beat him. You could sneak all the way up to him and take him out, or you could just leave the game for like a week and then come back to it. And after that, he died of old age, which is incredible for a game to pull off something like that. I think Hideo Kojima is a mad genius, and yeah, that was definitely one of the best. And the fifth game on my top 5 list is, probably one that not a lot of people will agree with, but I just had a very good experience with it the first time I played it, which was Silent Hill 4. A lot of folks didn't like that one, mostly because it sort of veered away from the traditional Silent Hill route of, you know, running through this foggy town and trying to figure out little mysteries and things like that. What Silent Hill 4 did particularly well was it meshed this sort of hub world with these other worlds that were a little bit more out there than any previous Silent Hill. So instead of being just stuck in this town solving mysteries, you would get like a sort of sucked into this portal where the worlds that you were in had very specific themes. So you'd have like Prison World, where, you know, you'd have enemies that were based off of kind of twisted, grotesque versions of prisoners and that sort of thing. I do recall the hub world as being particularly scary. There was a room next to you in that game that you could look through a little peephole, and you'd see, is it Robbie the Rabbit? I can't remember his name, but there was some pink rabbit anyway, that kind of was just sat on the end of a bed and sort of staring forward. And then, of course, later on in the game, when you look in there, he's kind of turning, or he's not there anymore. But what would happen after you went into one of these hub worlds was that you'd come back into your apartment, which was the main area, and it was all like first person, and you would have a haunting sometimes, where the developers had decided to take an area of this house, this apartment that you were familiar with, and then throw something crazy in there. And you'd actually, they were terrifying. Like, they had one that I'll never forget, which is in the living room of my house, where you had all these kind of baby faces, or just faces, coming out of the wall, and you'd have to take this sage candle, this white candle, and put it below these faces so that the haunting would go away, and then eventually, you know, these faces would push back into the wall. But while you're staring at this wall, you're thinking, holy crap, like, this is the most terrifying thing I've ever seen. So you had really brutally hard gameplay, because Silent Hills don't really let you mess around with weapons too much, like not guns or anything anyway. Combined with these kind of parts where traditionally you're supposed to be in a safe area, and instead they throw these random hauntings at you. Proper terrifying game. My mate had to play it with me and kind of read me the walkthrough as we were playing. It's one of the only games I've ever done that for, purely because I really wanted to finish it, but it was super hard. So yeah, Silent Hill 4. That's the 5th game on my top 5 list. Oh, God. It's tough because it really is based on mood. I would say overall, though, my favorite genre is probably RPG, and that doesn't matter if it's Japanese or Western. I mean, I said earlier that the Commodore 64 was the first console I had. I'd say the one that I really considered growing up on would be the Mega Drive. Just because that was the one that I would go out and get games pretty consistently for. And then I followed that up with the N64, which is, again, one where I was buying my own games. But I'd say the Mega Drive was probably the first one that I would consider myself growing up. You know what? It's an answer I come back to a lot, but honestly, Final Fantasy. There's a Japanese animation I watch called Sword Art Online, and it's basically about these guys that get sucked into this RPG world where, like, they're just on their beds with this kind of helmet thing on and just, you know, dying slowly. But they're living fully in this world of this sort of RPG, this Japanese RPG. I just thought that'd be so cool to, you know, have to build up your weapons and go to different places to gain more powers and kind of group up with people. They're so colorful as well. So yeah, Japanese RPG, Final Fantasy.
I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. It really does mean a lot to us when you do watch your videos. We are just 3 guys in a basement, literally filming, making video game commentary videos, whatever you want to call these. And we have a lot of fun, so we really do appreciate it. If you guys want to see more, hit subscribe down below, thumbs up this video, and just tell us what you think about us. If good or bad, we'll take any...